everyone. Welcome to the Life in the Valley podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Lyford, here with Zach Vaughn, who serves as the senior pastor of Machias Valley Baptist Church here in Machias, Maine. Today's episode is a sermon follow-up from this past Sunday, which was October 22nd. And our sermon text was Mark 5, 1 through 20. And the title was Satanic, Swine, and the Merciful Son.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Pretty good title, huh?
Yeah, that was my first comment to Zach when I got that this last week. So this is when Jesus casts a demon out of the man and the demons go into the pigs and go off the cliff and they die. So that's going to be what we're talking about today. But before we do that, I have a fun question for Pastor Zach. It's a get to know Pastor Zach question. So my question to you is, what is your favorite kind of music?
Okay, that's a good question. I like...
As a pastor, be careful what you answer.
Yeah, that's right. I like music that sounds good.
That's
not an answer. No, I know. I obviously like the Christian genre music. So I prefer like the new hymns. So like Sovereign Grace, Shane and Shane, Matt Boswell, some of those guys, Andrew Peterson, they all kind of have like this modern sound to hymns, and that's kind of my favorite. That's probably my favorite genre of music. I also really enjoy jazz.
Yes.
I like jazz. I like the sound. I don't know like jazz musicians. I couldn't name jazz albums, but I like the sound of jazz music.
Yeah, I learned this.
Yeah, you hear it in my office often.
I was like, when Pastor Zach first started listening to jazz music, our offices are right next door to each other, and I was like, what is this man listening to? Like, what's happening? Are we in a club or a lounge? What is going on? And at first I was like, interesting. Turn my music up. But now I don't know. I kind of like it. It's chill. It's very chill. It's very good for studying and working. And
it is.
I'm actually kind of like
it. Good.
Just for the record, I was in like a jazz band in high school.
Okay.
So, so that I'm familiar with jazz music, but I just never really.
I'm assuming it's not your favorite.
No, I wouldn't say it's my favorite.
Okay.
Like I said,
what's your favorite?
Grown on me. Well, I have to say Christian worship music, of course, is what is my default. But I'm a '90s girl, so I'm a child of the '90s pop.
Yeah.
Boy bands and Celine Dion, Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that? Are Christians allowed to?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, okay. I've read about them in history books.
Nice. I just caught that.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh boy, before this goes too far off the rails. All right, let's talk about sermon follow-up. So like I said, this past Sunday, Pastor Zach preached from Mark 5, verses 1 through 20, which was Jesus casting demons out of a man. And I'm sure many of the people had lots of questions, and I sent Pastor Zach quite a few, to which he responded, I don't know. And he's like, we're not going to have time to answer all that.
Yes.
But we do have a few here, and we're going to dive into those. So the first one is, are there two demon-possessed men or one? Because when we compare Matthew's account, it indicates that there were two. But Luke's account and Mark only talk about one demon-possessed man. Is this a discrepancy in the scriptures?
Yeah, so this is one of those places that skeptics of the Bible will say, see, the Bible contradicts itself. But it's not at all. So one thing I think we have to remember is, while we absolutely affirm the Bible is historical, like these are historical events, the primary reason why the gospel writers, for example, the 4 gospel writers were writing, was not just to give us a historical account, but rather to emphasize certain aspects of the historical Jesus. So historical accounts are important, but they're emphasizing different aspects. So for example, Matthew is really emphasizing Jesus' kingship. It's going to give historical stories, but he's going to include stories in his account that emphasize and highlight how Christ fulfills the Old Testament picture of this king, and then is the king of God. Where Mark, for example, is emphasizing, even though he does talk about Jesus being king and he's going to emphasize Jesus' authority, he's going to do it more so from Jesus as a servant, as the servant king, So like Isaiah 53 talks about this servant, this suffering servant, and Mark is really playing a lot on that. So he's emphasizing different aspects of Jesus's life than Matthew is. And so when they're telling this story, they're telling the same story. So Matthew 8 and Mark chapter 5 are portraying the same story for us, but they're going to include different details. So one thing I think you have to remember is you have to think through, like, okay, they have different aspects that they're looking at, and also they're seeing things through different perspectives. So if you and I are standing on the corner of the road and we see the same accident, we may include different details of that accident. Not that are contradicting. I might see something that you didn't see or you didn't think was important to include. So when Matthew's including the two, he's saying, okay, there's these two demon-possessed men, and he's highlighting Jesus's authority over those demons, this legion, this multitude of demons, where Mark and Luke are really going to emphasize the one who went back, the one man who went back to his people and proclaimed the gospel. And so that's what we see. And so it's different ways of telling the story. So let's use a quick example. Let's say I went to my friend's house last night. Let's say his name is John. And I had a conversation with John. Let's say his wife, Susie, happened to be there. But I told you, Andrea, hey, last night I had a conversation with my friend John at his house. If I didn't tell you that Susie was there, am I deceiving you?
Right. No.
No. So I'm not deceiving you. I'm just leaving out that detail because it's not important. It's not pertinent to the story. I'm telling you about my conversation with John. But let's say I meet one of Susie's friends at the supermarket, and she asks how Susie is, and I say, oh, she's doing well. I actually had a conversation with John and Susie last night. I'm not changing that story. I'm just highlighting different elements of that story. I'm telling you I had a conversation with John because I'm highlighting just that personal interaction, where since I'm with her at the store, one of Susie's friends, I'm going to highlight that I had a conversation with John and Susie. Same story, different details. So that's what I believe is happening here, where Matthew is telling the same story, highlighting both of the demon-possessed men. Mark's only emphasizing one. I do believe there were two demon-possessed men at this occurrence, but Mark is fixated on the one who would go back and tell others about Jesus.
So it's a matter of what Mark is the point he's trying to get across.
Yes.
Is why
he's not concerned about getting every detail, but about the point of that story.
Okay. That makes sense. Good. So next question about this text is, in the text, the demon asks Jesus if he is there to torment him. Is that true? And what does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So I think Matthew's account actually does add a little more detail to this as well. So this is where it's helpful to connect them, because the demon actually says, are you here to torment me before the time? And that's in Matthew 8:29. So the demon has this specific time in mind. So the Bible talks a lot about judgment. We see that in Revelation, for example, that Satan is out roaming, he's deceiving people, but there's this time when he's going to be judged. So think Revelation 12:12, I believe. Let me look this up. I'm going to flip over there real quick. Revelation 12:12 uses it like this. He says, O heavens, therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them, but woe to you, O earth, for the devil has come to you in great wrath, because he knows that his time is short. So Satan, and I'm assuming his demons as well, because they are following their master, which is Satan, the devil, knows that their time is short. They know that some sort of punishment and judgment is coming upon them. I don't think they know exactly when that time is. I think only God knows that. But they recognize that that's their end, right? So the demons are better theologians as far as knowledge goes than you and I. They know that there's a God. They believe, but they shudder, right? James tells us. And so God is keeping them under this judgment. There's another place in Jude. Let me flip back there briefly. Jude chapter 6 talks about it like this. It says, and the angels who did not stay within their position of authority, which demons, by the way, are fallen angels. This is talking about the demons, right? Those who rebelled against God. And the angels who did not stay within their position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day. So the picture there is focused not so much on the location of the demons, because the demons are still roaming around the earth. Satan's roaming around the earth seeking whom he may devour. That's clear. The focus, the emphasis that Jude is emphasizing there is rather on God, who's keeping them under these chains. In other words, they can't go outside of the authority which he has set. So God's not controlling the demons as in they're only doing what he makes them do, but rather he essentially holds them on a leash. They can't do things that he doesn't at least allow the demons to do. And so he's keeping them under judgment. He's keeping them under chains, rather, under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day. And there's going to be a day when he casts death and Hades, and the end of Revelation talks about that, into the lake of fire, into the great abyss, and destroys and ultimately defeats Satan and his demons, right?
Yes. And so if you compare the Luke 8 account of this, and Luke 8:31 says, and they begged him not to command them to depart into the abyss.
Right.
So that is their final
judgment.
Final judgment is the abyss. So that helps explain it. So the torment is their final judgment, which is the abyss, hell.
And they recognize Jesus is the one doing that, right? Which should be a comfort to Christians, I think, is like demons don't hold a candle to Jesus. Jesus is going to torment and throw the demons out. And I know that's not often the picture we have of Jesus, but that should be good because we see the result of what comes from demonic influence, all the pain and suffering and death. And so when we recognize that's not God doing that, that's satanic influence, that's sin, that's what the brokenness that sin has brought in, we actually should rejoice when we think of God judging wickedness and judging the demons and judging Satan.
Right. Okay. Last question on this text, although there, like I said, I had a lot more, and I'm sure everyone else did.
She had about 9 questions, and I didn't know like 6 of them. So,
well, speaking to that though, this is something we just talked about. Is a lot of times we read the scriptures and we have tons of questions. I know we have a Bible study on Fridays, the women do, and we have tons of questions. And it just made me think, despite all of our what I call sidebar questions, and we may or may not have answers for those.
Right.
What is the main point of this passage? And I think it's important to always go back to that when you're studying the scriptures.
Yeah.
Right, Pastor Zach?
Absolutely.
Like God, I think you actually said, I wrote down a quote, which I don't have in front of me, but God always tells us what's essential. He doesn't tell us everything.
Yeah.
But he will tell us what he wants us to know. So despite all of our questions, what is the main point of this passage?
Yeah.
And also, what is a good application for us to think about?
Okay. Yeah, great. So I would use 2 words to describe the main point: authority and mercy.
Okay.
So the first thing that it displays is Jesus' authority over the demonic realm. And I don't think we need to further discuss that other than just that should be a comfort to Christians. Like, he has authority even over the demonic influences. He has triumphed over them. Go read Colossians 2:15 today. They don't hold a candle to him. And that's good news for his people. And then 2, mercy. Like, Jesus has mercy on this man. I think verse 19 of our passage is really kind of the theme verse here. Jesus did not permit him to follow him, but said, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." Jesus doesn't have mercy on demons. Jesus didn't die for demons. Jesus died for people. And so he has mercy on people. And that's a great comfort for us as people talking. And for those listening, I'm assuming you're a person. So Jesus died for you. And he is willing to have mercy on those who trust in him, who look to him, so that we can be set free from the bondage of sin, of demonic influence. I mean, that's what Jesus is doing here. So he has authority to free us, and then he has mercy to free us. And you can't have one of those things without the other. If Jesus only had authority to free us, it might be a scary thing because we might think he's angry with us or he wants to destroy us too. And then if he only had mercy and he was just kind of a fluffy, loving God, but didn't have power over the demonic realm, he couldn't do anything to free us. But he has both authority to destroy demons, to free us from demonic influence, and he has mercy on people who are willing to come to him. And so I think that's the overarching theme to this text, if you will.
Mhm.
And so to answer the second part of that question, like what do we do? I think if you're not a follower of Christ, you simply repent,
Mhm.
which means a change of mind, right? Like you turn away from your sin, you look to Jesus, and you cling to his mercy because he's willing to have mercy. Like you and I, we're under judgment too without Christ. Like sin has separated us. That's go back and listen to our gospel episode. Sin has separated us from God, and so we are rightfully under the judgment of God. But he offers mercy so that we can look to him, trust in him, so that we don't get what we deserve. That's what mercy is, us not receiving the judgment that is rightfully ours, because he's willing to take us in and free us, set us free from the bondage to sin, the demonic realm. And this man was in bondage
Right.
To demons, and Jesus sets him free because of his authority and his mercy.
Right. That's why Jesus came, to set us free.
Yeah.
And what's interesting in the passage is that man was completely powerless.
Right. Yeah.
It said that they tried, and people tried, right? Because they tried to bind him and they couldn't, and he tore the chains off.
Yep.
So we need an outside rescuer.
Amen.
To free us.
And that's the mercy of Jesus.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. Well, I think that wraps it up for us today on the sermon follow-up, and we'll keep receiving your questions. And you can submit those at machiasvalley.org/questions, and we'll do our best, although sometimes the answer may be, I don't know. And that's okay. That's okay. So if you'd like more information, you can go to www.machiasvalley.org. And until next time, may Christ be glorified in all that we do. Life in the Valley is a podcast of Machias Valley Baptist Church. For more information, visit www.machiasvalley.org.